what was really on the hard drive they never found. In the summer of 2013, a hard drive went into a black bin bag in a house in Newport, Wales. Nobody thought twice about it. It looked like scrap, a dead laptop part, gathering dust in a drawer. The woman clearing out the house assumed it was rubbish and sent it out with the rest. It went to the curb, then to a truck, then to a landfill on the edge of the city. Somewhere under the mud and waste of Docksway landfill, it is very possibly still there today. The man who owned that hard drive is named James Howells. And what was actually on it wasn't files or photos or nothing at all. It was the only key to 8,000 Bitcoin. At today's prices, that's not thousands of dollars. It's not millions. It is, depending on the day you check, somewhere close to $1 billion. One hard drive, one mistake, one landfill, and more than a decade later, nobody has ever gotten it back. Chapter 1. The mining long before Bitcoin was worth anything close to real money. It was a curiosity for a small group of early believers. James Howells was one of them. He had been building computers since childhood. He'd used early file-sharing networks. He understood encryption from his work background. In 2009, a strange new digital currency appeared online, built on a white paper by an anonymous creator using the name Satoshi Nakamoto. Howells didn't dismiss it. He studied it. At the time, mining Bitcoin didn't require warehouses of specialized machines. An ordinary laptop left running could generate coins that were worth, in practical terms, almost nothing. Howells let his laptop run. Over time, he accumulated 8,000 Bitcoin. Back then, that was pocket change. A curiosity. A number in a file. He moved the private keys, the only thing that actually controls access to Bitcoin, onto a separate hard drive, kept apart from his everyday computer. Then Bitcoin's price started to climb, and an old hard drive, disconnected and forgotten in a drawer, quietly became worth more than most people earn in a lifetime. Chapter 2. The mistake. By 2013, Howells wasn't thinking about that drive at all. He was in the middle of moving, clearing out clutter, getting rid of old electronics that looked broken or obsolete. Somewhere in that process, the wrong hard drive ended up in the pile marked for disposal. His then-partner, doing him a favor by tidying up, bagged it along with the rest and sent it out with the household waste. Neither of them knew what it actually was. It wasn't until weeks later, when Howells went looking for it, that the mistake became clear. The hard drive containing the only private key to 8,000 Bitcoin had already been collected. By the time he realized what was gone, it was on its way to Docksway Landfill in Newport, a working waste site, layered daily with tons of household garbage. At that point, the coins were worth somewhere around $9 million. Painful, but not yet the number that would come to define the rest of his life. Chapter 3. The number that wouldn't stop growing. Bitcoin didn't stay at $9 million for those 8,000 coins. Kept climbing, crashing, climbing again. Every time the price spiked, the value of what was sitting in that landfill spiked with it, without Howells touching a single coin, without anyone touching anything at all. By 2017, reports pegged the loss at around $100 million. By the 2020s, headlines were calling it worth hundreds of millions, then approaching $1 billion. At points in 2025, with Bitcoin trading near all-time highs, the value of those coins pushed past $900 million, within reach of making Howells, on paper, a billionaire. The strange part is that the Bitcoin itself has never moved. It sits in a wallet address that anyone in the world can look up, its balance fully visible, its ownership never disputed. Howells doesn't need to find the coins to know they exist. He needs to find the physical piece of plastic and metal that holds the only key that can unlock them. And that piece of hardware is buried under, by some estimates, tens of thousands of tons of compacted household waste. Chapter 4. The fight to dig. For over a decade, Howells has tried almost everything to get access to that landfill. He first asked Newport City Council for permission to search the site in 2013, not long after the mistake happened. He was refused. The council's reasoning wasn't about ownership of the Bitcoin, it was about what excavating a live landfill actually involves. Officials pointed to methane pockets, asbestos, and toxic leachate seeping through decades of buried waste, calling it a hazardous environment even before considering whether a hard drive could survive inside it. Howells came back with a plan built around professional excavation teams, specialist sorting equipment, even artificial intelligence to help sift the waste. He offered the council a share of the recovered fortune if the coins were ever found. He offered tens of millions of dollars to buy the land outright. He took the fight to court, arguing the council was blocking him from property that was rightfully his. In January 2025, a high court judge dismissed the case, ruling it had no realistic chance of succeeding. An appeal was refused 2 months later. Every legal door, one after another, closed. Chapter 5. What's actually down there here is the part that makes this story different from an ordinary case of lost property. Nobody disputes that the hard drive is almost certainly still in that landfill. Nobody disputes what's on it either. The balance of that Bitcoin wallet is public, permanent, and visible to anyone with an internet connection. The uncertainty isn't about whether the fortune exists. It's about whether a piece of consumer electronics, sitting inside a landfill for over a decade, compacted under the weight of the equivalent of tens of millions of other hard drives, exposed to heat, moisture, and decomposing organic waste, could still be read at all. Waste management experts have been blunt about the odds. Electronics are not built to survive that kind of environment for that long. Even if the drive were located, even if it were dug out of the ground intact, there's no guarantee the platters inside haven't been crushed, corroded, or destroyed. The treasure, in other words, might already be gone. Not stolen, not spent, just quietly destroyed by time, pressure, and rot. And no one will know for certain unless somebody actually digs. Chapter 6. The pivot. By the middle of 2025, after 12 years of being told no, Howells changed direction entirely. He stopped asking the council for permission. He stopped pursuing excavation. Instead, he turned to the one thing about this situation that nobody can take away from him: the fact that, under UK law, he remains the legal owner of that Bitcoin, whether or not he can physically reach it. His new plan was to build a cryptocurrency project explicitly tied to the value of the coins he cannot access, arguing that as long as the wallet's balance stays untouched and verifiable, its value can back a new token. It's an unusual solution to an unusual problem. The Bitcoin isn't gone. It isn't stolen. It's simply sealed away, underground, its value rising and falling in a wallet nobody can open. As of now, the Docksway landfill in Newport is scheduled to close and be redeveloped, with plans that would put the site permanently out of reach for any future excavation. If that closure goes ahead as planned, the door on ever recovering that hard drive may shut for good. Somewhere beneath a stretch of land in Wales sits a small piece of plastic and circuitry. On paper, it holds a fortune that has, at various points, been worth roughly the size of a small country's national budget. In reality, it holds nothing anyone can spend, use, or even confirm is still readable. Every year the value on paper climbs, the story gets stranger. A man who can see his fortune, name its exact size down to the dollar, and still cannot touch a cent of it. The hard drive was never found. Whether anything on it could still be recovered, or whether it's already been silently erased by a decade of heat, weight, and time, remains the one thing nobody can verify. Every story leaves a trace. This has been traced.